Welcome to Living Christ, an offering of the Spark of Humanity Network. My name is Martha Holden. I'm a member of the Spark of Humanity Network. The Spark of Humanity Network is based on the intuition, the insight that there is a spark of humanity in each one of us. And as we recognize our spark, as we accept that we have a spark of humanity, through it we can reach out to connect with and affirm the spark of humanity in others. And that changes things. It seems to erode their defenses and clarify their bafflement and release their distortions subtly and over a long time, and it does the same thing with us. We've been working with this for a while now, almost 10 years. And in the process of this, we've realized there's something more than that spark of humanity, or deeper, or slightly different, because that connection is not just limited to humanity. And what we've come to recognize, accept, what this series is exploring, developing, is from the understanding that there is a living process in which we each exist. All creatures exist, all creation exists. A living process. We humans, as humans, we exist within it. And this process is alive within us. And it presses to be lived through us. And we're calling that process Christ. So this program is comes from two angles. The Christ is living, this process that lives, it encompasses us. We live within it. We are its creatures. And it's within us, developing us and growing us and wanting to be lived through us, that is a living process. And also, we may choose to ourselves be living the Christ, living the process. We have a little booklet. I won't go through the whole thing, but it says the Christ sings life, streams the divine, evolves being, flows toward fulfillment. That concept of flowing we may get to today, otherwise we'll get to it in the next show. And that it's within everyone, and that we can't get rid of it. And we can try to deny it, and we can try to mangle it, and we can do our best to distort it. We can't get rid of it. We're stuck with it. We can choose to live in harmony with it. And deeper, we can choose to join it. So that's what the idea of our living Christ is, that coming into relationship with this process, this flow, that allows us to experience the fullness of life. I talk often about, and you'll probably hear me talk more about, that we tend to be scared of life because it's rambunctious and we're not in control over it, so we have many ways of insulating ourselves against it. But this program the hope is to develop a field of support, a community of support, so that we support each other. Yes, it's scary, it's different, it's lively, it's not what we're used to. And together we can sort of hold hands and move into this experience of being willing to join the Christ, this vitality, this life force, as George Bernard Shaw would say. Today, we're talking about mucking out the stable, which is a a reason we don't have a banner for that yet. It's sort of the subtitle for this series. The idea is that any belief system, any religious tradition, any paradigm, and our own personal belief systems, that we have experiences. We have experiences, and from the experiences, we make up a story about the experience, from the experience, referring to the experience. The story is not the experience. It's our best attempt to put words on it, to capture it, perhaps to evoke it, re-evoke it in ourselves and evoke it in others, but it's not the experience. And that these stories mound up, and we tell them to each other, and we listen to other stories, and they sort of grow and grow and grow. But underneath that, underneath this accumulation of stories that have been developed from experiences, there is the living reality, big R, the living reality, the truth, the actuality that we are calling Christ. So to get down so we are more in touch with that reality, so we're more available to it, so we're not as insulated from it. We're using the metaphor image of a stable. If you've had any livestock that you stable, you know that like we eat experiences and come out with stories, they eat grain and hay and they come out with fecal matters, and it sort of mounds up, and we may put another load of straw or sawdust in to sort of, try to keep it clean and not too soggy. But eventually, the stable has to be mucked out, because otherwise that critter will start getting hoof rot and its leg bones will start deteriorating. And it's a way to a very painful and miserable death that we don't want any critter that we care for to have. And when we think of it in the analogy of the religious tradition or the belief system, we say, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of accumulation here that may not really be true. It may not be relevant. It may not be helpful. It may get in the way of our living Christ. So mucking it out is what it's called. To tie it back in, and this is a very far-ranging metaphor that we'll be using, so I hope you can be flexible about this. It ties into the living Christ, not just in the sense that some of us may have had what we envisioned the Christ tied up in a stable, and the stories and the experiences may be accumulating until we aren't really paying attention to the reality that's underneath it. We're only paying attention to the stories and the doctrines and the dogmas and the traditions and the precepts and the things our grandmothers told us, not getting into the touch with the reality, that, but also, or the whole tradition or our own personal belief systems. There's a story of Hercules, the Greek legend, a hero that was immensely strong. And we're moving into an alternative to our just getting out our dung forks and trying with ourselves and perhaps with others and each other in this community, emerging community, try and get out our dung forks and, okay, let's get rid of this. This is stuff in the stable that can go now. recognizing, however, that what may seem to be a pile of dung to you may be an essential architectural component to me. So, we have to be a little gentle and tolerant here, because I don't know what helps you in trusting enough so that you can move into living in harmony with the Christ, trusting the Christ, joining the Christ. Okay, back to Hercules. He was given challenge. He lost his temper, and I think he killed some people very bad. So as penance, he had to do a series of tasks, and one of them was mucking out the Augean stables. The king of Augea had not been taking care of his oxen and other critters, and the stables were in deep need of being mucked out. And so Hercules got a couple of rivers and he diverted them to run through the stables, and that got rid of all the muck. Just like that, just washed them clean. He could do that. That same image can work to an extent for us, not just once and for all, but the idea that concept that the Christ flows toward fulfillment, the idea that the Christ is a living process. And some of us can sort of experience it as a stream, the Christ stream, and think of ourselves as leaves on the stream or fishes within the stream, or just dissolving into the stream like the mermaid in Hans Christian's story of the Little Mermaid, that we can have a relationship with that and we can invite it into our personal stables or our traditional stables of whatever faith tradition we're used to, and invite that to help us in the process of washing away what is getting in our way of living in coherence with the truth and the big R reality. Very complicated. We have our dear friend Danielle with us today, I do believe, and she's always so good at clarifying me, or at least getting me back on track. So, Coleman, is Danielle available?
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Hold on. It's worth holding on for. Doo-doo-doo-doo.
Are you able to hear me?
Danielle was raised within the Christian tradition, as was I, and as a Catholic, and is currently a practicing Tibetan Buddhist. So she has a wonderful perspective on what gets in the way and what is possible. And I need to put on my earphones. Thank you. Okay.
Hi there, Martha.
Hi there, Danielle.
I've been trying to get through, but now we're through. That's good.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I can really relate to what you're talking about, especially things looping back a little bit. The idea that the images of Jesus and the way that Jesus is presented in our culture can often become, in my experience, has been an impediment to experiencing what you're defining as Christ, what you're, where your finger is pointing to a vast process, a vast being of Christ. Yeah, I mean, what I feel often is that there are very many people in the world and in history who take the indescribable immenseness of what we could call infinity, the universe, God, the Buddha nature. Like we can try to pin a label there, and the tendency is to reduce, to say, oh no, it's this set of rules, and now it's this set of rules and nothing else. There is nothing else. There is just this set of rules. And bit by bit, the infinite gets compressed down until it's kind of a brick that's hitting people over the head, and has absolutely nothing to do with infinity, and certainly no humility in saying, perhaps we could say something and then say, but of course, I can't possibly know all of it. But instead, it turns around and it becomes this harshly focused, tiny, tiny thing that people then are using as a weapon. And I feel like that's a lot of the muck. It's like that is we're looking head on into the brick wall that is made of those bricks, and we're having a very difficult time getting past them. And unfortunately, it's not just when we're encountering someone else who believes that way, who thinks that way, but it's those things that get built inside of us
Right.
that, yeah, yeah. So yes, I'm definitely hearing what you're saying. That's how I'm hearing it. Whether that's what you're going for or not, I'm not sure. Sometimes, as you were saying with stories, sometimes you evoke, and others not necessarily precisely what you were trying to evoke. But that's what's been brought up for me.
Good. I'm happy to hear more from you along this or anyway, and your sense of segue from the tradition you were raised in to
Oh,
the tradition you're
it's
currently
been
practicing.
it's been excruciating. I mean, what I know is that when I was a teenager, I started learning to meditate, sort of just a generic form of meditation, and that was met with it's an immediately marvelous experience, which one is aware that one is expanding, if I can use a simple terminology for it, and then you're expanding, but I was surrounded by people that were saying, "Oh no, no, that's Satan. That's wrong.
Oh
That's
my
bad.
God.
Like you're going to hurt yourself doing that stuff." And when I returned to Buddhism a few years ago, and I would say I would defy anyone calling me a Buddhist or a Christian. I liked what you were saying. You said a practicing Buddhist. I would say I have worked very hard for about 5 years to become a beginner,
Yeah.
perhaps, of a student. But yeah, when I returned to it, there was a lot. I was astonished at how much there was inside of me that I had to work through. Um, and I had to continually, like, just a deliberate, every day, set aside some time. I would take a walk and I would think about, like why are there people that I profoundly respect who are Christians who are judging me still to this day, or who are telling me that they're worried for me, that I'm not using the name of Jesus, and that when I would say, well, I fear how Jesus's name is being used, and I have all kind of glib little things I said to people. One of them being, I love Jesus. It's Christians I'm very skeptical about. I often say that much harsher than that, but we are, after all, on television. So, um, but yeah, the those experiences, that feeling of um, like why the opposition, why the urgent feeling that if you're not using particular words, particular ritual, particular sayings, why is the feeling there that you're therefore doing something wrong? So yeah, I mean, it's something I've spent a lot of time with. I still spend a lot of time with. I Every day I spend time with a mantra that is to the Bodhisattva Jesus, and that is very important. It's not an abstract to me. That's the most visceral experience of all of my spiritual growth, crystallized into a simple mantra that I repeat for a half hour every day, and that is to me the sudden awareness of the intersection between Christian tradition and Buddhist traditions, the fact that the Dalai Lama found his reincarnation was found at the age of 4 by a committee of 3 wise men who saw signs and came out, came looking for him. I mean, literally that. And then I was reading that. I bought the Dalai Lama's autobiography called My Spiritual Journey. I bought that for myself on Christmas a few years ago, and was reading that on Christmas Day. I was like, oh, I know this story. But for me, that's the path I had to follow. Most people would say, why couldn't you just walk away from it? Like, why couldn't you just be okay with this speaks to me, this Buddhist tradition, this meditation, this practice speaks to me. Why couldn't you just be okay with that? And in my case, speaking only for myself, it was that not that Christianity was the obstacle I had to clear out, but that the obstacle was the images and the dogmas that I was able to start to look at and to see that those were perhaps not what Jesus was intending, and to begin to move into a place where, not a relaxed and groovy place where it's like, oh, everything matters, everything's cool, but like a seriously thoughtful place of like, no, what is there important that's being said here, and what's important being said here, and how do those connect? But that's kind of that's been my process the last few years.
So you've been mucking out your stable.
You got it, sister.
Your personal stable with the what you have been experiencing as the piles of dung or whatever from the tradition in which you were raised, and the current secular humanism, whatever. Getting that out of the way so that you are feeling closer to an underlying truth that feeds you.
Yes. That's very well put.
Oh, goody.
Well, I'm letting it sink in because that matters to me.
Do you have any particular experiences or words of encouragement for people who may be at some point in the same process?
I would say that it is not as effective as you might think to leap from one set of dogmas to another. It is rather important to observe the habit that underlies that, which in my experience was the feeling that life is big and scary, as you were just saying, and that it feels good to have some safe place to which you can retreat, and dogma feels like that. It presents itself as, do these 10 rules, you got it, kid. Do like, say these things, you're there. Give this much money to this organization, you're in. Like the vastness of moving from a tradition that says no matter how long you're alive, whether it's a week or 100 years or 200 years, when you die, you'll be judged and you'll spend eternity. What the hell is eternity? You're going to spend that much suffering or being blissed out, and you'll never know, so be afraid all the time. Moving from that to a tradition where they teach that enlightenment will happen not in this lifetime, but in not an eon, which is 100,000 years, but in countless eons. But that's not enough. In 3 countless eons, you will achieve enlightenment. Learn some patience, open your mind, and accept the fact that you're going to be learning and growing for a very long time.
And that every stable, the personal stable always needs mucking out.
Yes, it does.
That's when we're almost out of time. But that's why we talk with each other for encouragement and support as we find our dung forks to heave it out and open the gates so the Christ stream can come through and sort of help it through, because that's something that's beyond that factor, is something that's beyond description. So thank you very much, Danielle. Glad you could join us. May it happen again. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Coleman. Thank you, Orca.